Okay, I've got that fuel tank full to just about an inch within the very top here, so I'm going to stop right there. Also, what you don't want to do is you don't want to put your gas cap back on there, because as this acid is working, it's going to release gases that's going to build up pressure in that tank. So you don't want that happening, or it can just disform your tank. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave this just like this overnight and let that acid do its work. Then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so we've given our fuel tank a good 20 hours or so to soak with the acid wash in it. So the next step is to take that acid wash, we're going to remove the fuel petcock, and we're going to drain that acid wash into a separate 5-gallon container. Once we rinse the tank out real good and give it a good inspection, if we still see a little bit of residual rust in there, you may want to add that acid back to it again and let it soak for a little bit longer. Also, you want to retain that acid in a separate container for proper disposal. Okay. Now what we'll do after we're through with the acid wash and we've convinced that we've got all that acid there like we want it, we're just going to keep rinsing it out with a garden hose until we get all traces of the acid wash out, and then we'll go on to the next step, which will be the final prep just prior to putting in the fuel tank liner. Once you got all that acid wash out of there and you have rinsed the tank out and got everything out of it that you like, now you got to just get all the water out of it by any means necessary. Now for this next step, you want to be sure that you have plenty of ventilation if you're doing this inside. Okay, so now we've finally got the tank dried out real good, and so now we're ready to go with the second step in our tank lining process, and this is the Prep B portion of the cream kit. Now, the reason why you want to use this in a well-ventilated area, as you can see, I have got both of the shop doors open, so I got plenty of ventilation in there. Basically, this stuff here is just simply methyl ethyl ketone, or MEK. Try to say that 3 times if you're a redneck like me. But anyway, what this stuff does is this is going to prep this metal, give it the final prep for the fuel tank liner. It's also going to remove any remaining moisture that might be lying down in some of these seams and areas on this fuel tank that you couldn't get blown out of there real good and dry. Now also, a word of caution with this stuff right here, you do not want to get this stuff on any of the painted surfaces of the fuel tank. It will remove the paint. So I'm going to take me a funnel here and I'm going to very carefully pour the entire contents of this Prep B in there. And I've got the fuel petcocks and the vents all shut off on it. So we're just going to very carefully pour this in there. Make sure we don't spill any of it on the paint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this tank around real slow and carefully and try to get that methyl ethyl ketone mixture all inside that tank. That way it'll prep that metal and get it ready to go for our final step, which is the liner itself. Whew, man, that's some strong fumes. Alright, now I've got this coated real good with the step B. Now this, here again, this is my old petcock. I'm not going to reuse this, so this is why I'm using it to plug off the opening. If you plan on reusing your petcock, you want to try to fashion you a rubber plug or something like that, and also get you a short piece of hose and put over the fuel tank vent. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to pour as much of the Prep B back into the bottle as I can, because you don't want to leave too much residual in there. A little bit's not going to hurt anything, but you don't want to dilute your cream too much with the MEK. So what we'll do is take this off, we're going to drain the remainder of it back in there, and then we'll start in with our fuel tank liner. Now we're ready for our final step, which is to put the liner itself in. Now up to this point we've gone through a lot of prep work, and it's just like anything else. It's just like painting an automobile. You know, the preparation work that you do is what's going to make the finished product look good. So that's why you want to take your time, be sure you get all that rust out of there, and get this tank properly prepped, because if you don't get it all out of there, you're not going to be happy with the results. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour the entire contents of this into the fuel tank. There again, you want to be very careful not to get any of this on the paint. Cap this back off, and as before, I have the petcocks installed, and I've got the fuel tank vent plugged off. Now I've got a little cap here that I've kind of fashioned out a little piece of rubber here that I'm going to kind of force down onto the fuel tank opening, just to kind of cover that up. Because what I want to do now is I'm going to roll this tank over. I want to get that coating on all the entire surfaces on the inside of this fuel tank. Just kind of take your time and roll it around. We've taken all of our time to get this thing prepped. You don't want to get in a hurry now. Be sure that you roll that tank around to where that liner has a chance to get all through these seams, because that's a lot of the area that rust likes to hide. That's a portion of the tank that really needs a good attention to the seal.